Welcome to Living from the Heart. I am your host, Tina Thrussell, light dancer, co-founder of Best You Can Be, and messenger of the Shin Dao, the Way of the Heart. Today, I am delighted to have Alara Payten on the show. And I first met Alara, I think 20 years ago, when she was known by another name and was going through a separation. Her life was kind of in that upside down place of trying to figure out who she is and what her life path is and what now with this phase of life. And I have watched her move through all of that and evolve to this brilliant shining light who really serves the world in such surrendered service that I have such great admiration for who she is, who she's become, and how she shows up in the world. And just before I bring Alara on and introduce you to her, I would like to remind you that the Shin Dao is living the way of the heart. And you can find more about the philosophy on shindao.com, SHINDAO.com. You can also receive a complimentary subscription to Heart and Mind Matters, a bi-weekly uplift video, quote of the week, inspirational article, free for your enjoyment. So you can sign up on the website. And without further ado, I introduce to you Alara Payten, who will be on screen. There she is. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
And we might as well let people know right up front that there might be a little coughing and sniffing that happens.
Yes, I've been having a recalibration sinus cold, and so I might have to grab the Kleenex and the hot water and the throat lozenge.
So before we get any further, Linda Winger is on and saying good morning, Tina and Alara. It's her first time with us. So welcome, Linda. We're delighted to have you with us this morning. And tell us about this recalibration cold.
Well, I listened to Lee Carroll, who is a channeler for Cryon. I don't know if you've ever heard of the entourage called Cryon. It's one of the entities or the groups from the other side of the veil. And he said the common cold is a recalibration mechanism. It allows us to recalibrate. And I notice in this time of the year, it's quite common for me with all of the physical factors, with the dry winter air and etc. It's not uncommon for me to have a cold this time of year. But needing to draw in during this time of year when we're in the dark, in a world that wants to take us out all the time into being active and active and active, I notice a heck of a lot of people can get sick during the December month. So they just get so run down. They're so busy. They're not often taking time to do their own inner work. So this recalibration going, okay, if I'm going to get colds and if they're a recalibration tool for my benefit, then I want to surrender into that and not be fighting the cold. And so it's changed my perspective. I used to get sick a lot when I was under a lot of stress in my life. And I don't get colds that often, but hey, if they're going to help me recalibrate to love, to my true divine nature even more, then I'm okay using them as a recalibration tool.
That's beautiful. And I have to totally agree. I do find, yes, a lot of people do fall ill at this time of year. And I know myself, when I've been pushing too hard, doing too much, the body just goes into this, okay, we're going to shut down a little bit so that you have some quiet time, which is a good lesson for us that perhaps if we just slowed down and gifted ourselves with that quiet time a little more often, we might not have to go through those physical symptoms to be encouraged to take that quiet time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Oh, and Lana has joined us. Good morning, Lana. Lana McCarroll was a guest on my show a few weeks ago. Lovely to see her here. Linda says she hasn't had a cold or flu in a few years. Good for you. Maybe that means you're taking your downtime and getting your recalibration, or maybe it means there is still some recalibrating yet to come.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Someone said, this all this spiritual stuff. Oh, you're making it all up to help yourself feel better. And going, well, dang right, because we're making up our whole life. We're creating our viewpoint of life. So if my evolving, living from the heart and changing my paradigms of how I hold my past, not to be a victim of my past, but to learn and grow from my past, be empowered by my past. What's the past calling me into wisening about? I'm going, well, heck, of course. If it's all pretend, then great. I feel a whole lot better on this side of my pretending than I did years ago when I wasn't pretending. Pretending in my spirituality and my way of the heart.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yes, when I first met you, I would not exactly have called you a happy camper.
And that was way before I chose to separate and divorce. We met, I think, in 2004 at a teachers' convention.
Oh my gosh, you're right. You were leading laughter yoga at that time. That's right. Oh my goodness.
Go way back, girl.
We do go way back. Oh my. Yeah, wow. And so much has changed in all of that time. Um, as I say, I have watched you step into being in such sacred service. Like everything you do, I see your life as being dedicated to being this messenger of love, to be sacred love in action. And I know that for you, ceremony is a huge part of that. And it's interesting. The whole thing about discovering the importance of ceremony has been a fluctuating journey for me. But of late, I have come to appreciate how ceremony can simply bring us very present to this moment and bring a sense of sacredness to this moment so that we know what it feels like and we can take that into everyday life.
And my understanding is simple rituals, can be more complex ceremonies, help us connect our consciousness, our subconscious, and our superconsciousness. So even lighting a candle, putting our hands to our heart, being willing to breathe into our own heart for a few minutes before we head out into the day, that simple ritual, the more we practice these kinds of things, you don't have to use a candle. You're putting a hand on my heart and taking a moment to remember, where do I want to live from today? I honor my mind, I honor my intellect, but I want my mind to be in service to my heart first. And so I noticed for me with ceremony, I don't want to be holding rigidly to a lot of rules and regulations around ceremony. I don't want it to become another trap. But I find that it can just be so meaningful for me physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And well, here I am, years later, after getting my drum. As some of you know, I'm a carrier of a 32-inch in diameter and 16-inch deep. I say that in inches because it was made in Australia, so they were, my drum teacher is American, so all of her measurements were in inches. And I find that ceremony can take me to places where just talking in the mind, and where I do silent meditation regularly. And so that's a tool, but there's something really juicy for me in ceremony and simple ritual.
And ceremony for yourself as well as ceremony with others, are they equally important to you?
Yes, because with part of my work is the deep inner journey, a sacred inner journey. And part of my healing was being shown by teachers like my drum teacher, White Eagle Medicine Woman, and Alara, communing with the dolphins lady that speaks in Calgary every once in a while, that I love and adore, showed me, along with therapists and a gazillion other influences in my life, how to take that sacred inner journey, to look within, to go to those places that are trapped in like a time warp, that are still stuck in the lower frequencies, the pain, shame, unresolved traumas, uh, holding us back, self-sabotaging, etc. So I find that ceremony can be really helpful in uh, honoring that journey. So if I've done deep inner child healing work, I often will take my crystals, or just sit with a candle and do a simple ceremony to honor that process that I went through, to honor the if there, if it was hard, if it was challenging, honor the freedom that comes on the other side of self-discovery. So for me, there's a lot of freedom on the other side of self-discovery. And my beloved mother, who's on the other side of the veil now, years ago, she asked me, why is it you analyze everything so much? And I said, well, I can see how you would say it's analyzing. I'm an Aquarian, for starters. So, and my ascending sign is Scorpio. So I've got the mind, the higher mind, so thinking, the air sign, and then the Scorpio, a deep diver with finding the truth and emotional exploration, etc. I said, for me, it's about self-awareness. If I don't have any awareness of what's happening in the moment, if I don't have any curiosity about it, then chances are I'm not going to be able to influence it for change. So I used to get into analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
And that was part of the dysfunction. That was part of overwhelm with different traumas that had not been resolved in my life. So I recognize, but that then, if I go into analysis paralysis and go, oh, I'm in analysis paralysis. Wow, I'm running around not in circles. It was like I can feel when I'm in analysis paralysis that I'm in like a maze in my mind where I'm a rat trying to find my way out and trying to find my food and bumping up against the walls. And I realized that I don't really like that feeling in my mind. So what I decided to do one day, my wisdom said, why not have a labyrinth in your mind? I really enjoy walking a labyrinth. That's
Me too.
a very powerful tool for me. And I now have a labyrinth in my mind so that I can walk in that it's a deliberation, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, what a beautiful thing. And Linda is really relating here. She's commenting a lot on the things that you're saying about, how so many rituals and ceremonies have these rules, and that she's been a healer with herbs and crystals in most of her incarnations. So really relating to that. And I also use crystals and aromatherapies and sound tools, all sorts of wonderful things in the healing work that I do. And all of the tools that we can use are just that. They're wonderful tools that can accentuate and complement and amplify and magnify the results of what we're looking for.
Well, and you're a sound healing practitioner now, right? Certified. And so there's more and more research coming across my Facebook feed. I don't watch the regular news, but about the scientific evidence for the healing power of sound, the different frequencies of music that can change things in our body. And our voice, our own voice, is so healing. Just humming, right? One of my spiritual teachers, they send a master's temple in Maui. They talk about the hum being the original Om.
Yes. Yes. And when you talk about sound, there's your healing drum, your big ceremonial drum where you invite people to lie under. Yep. Alara will invite people to lie under the drum while she drums. And it is a very powerful experience because sound is an energy wave. And everything, as we know, is energy. And all energy moves in different frequencies, different resonances. And when we expose ourselves with particular types of sound, that sound can help our bodies relax, to restore our own natural resonance, to harmonize our frequencies. And there is never, ever been a time that someone hasn't been in my healing room and talked about how they have not felt this relaxed in forever. Because the sound of my Tibetan bowls and the cushion chime and the tuning forks all work to restore this resonance and help the body be in this place. And I know that this is partially what is happening with Alara's ceremonial drum when she's using that.
Oh dear. Talking loosens the sinuses, right?
Yes, of course. So I managed to just carry on the talking through all of that. And
my drum is in a messy part of the room. I'm moving from the space in 2 days. And it's all covered up in its case, so I can't show people their drum, but yes, the power of that drum. I became a drum keeper because the drum I recognized helps ground me.
mm-hmm.
I was not grounded. I didn't have energy practices. At one time in my life, I spent a lot of time in my head.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For much of my life, it wasn't safe to be in my body. As with so many people who've experienced a variety of things that were traumatic.
Yes.
Children. So the drum helps me be in the body and feel safe in the body. Now, I love all sorts of other instruments as well. Mm-hmm. But I realized the power of the drum for grounding for me was really miraculous.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting for someone who spent so much time in her head to see the transition, the shift that happens to a person when they start to live from their heart, as you have done. You know, I have watched you go from being and just like really all over the place to, yes, being grounded and strong and powerful and dignified. You carry yourself with this beautiful open energy that's very inviting and such a difference. And it's that journey from here to here and learning to use this as a tool rather than as the driving force.
Right. And then getting down into the core. I wasn't doing any kind of work down into the sacrum. So I wasn't grounded into the earth. And I didn't have any energy practices for owning my own energy bubble. I became a fourth level Peruvian Incan practitioner. I got trained in that, or initiated, called initiations. And so I could own my own energy bubble. And, you know, you talk about the auric field. How am I grounded into the earth? I wasn't doing any of that. I used to be a physical therapist. I served in that capacity for 22 years. And I certainly could have done all of that while I was doing it, because there are so many physical therapists and massage therapists. They're doing all sorts of spiritual things now, but I was totally separate from all of that. And, you know, not having ways to be connected into the energy grids that I believe are around us in the earth and around us. Now that I'm doing that on a regular basis and taking ownership of cultivating practices to be here now. And you did a talk at Unity a couple of weeks ago, and you were talking about what time, where am I here? What time is it now? Right? To have the energy practices to let myself be safe in being here and now.
Yeah.
Because if there's a lot of woundedness, as a physical therapist, I saw a lot of people who had a lot of physical pain.
Yes.
And there's a psychological wound that often goes with that. Mm-hmm. And they need to learn how to manage their energy when it doesn't feel comfortable to be in the body, you know, and when there's that much pain going on.
Yeah.
So as we start to understand more and more the energy beings that we are, and I see the influence making its way into the hospital system. I saw at the Foothills Hospital In their elevator, on a poster for well-being, it had heart math in the corner.
Oh,
And for
love
those of you who aren't familiar with heart math, I definitely invite you to check that out. I just noticed my phone is almost out of juice.
Oh,
No, it was 100%. That coming into the heart is obviously showing enough results that
oh, excuse
is using it in their hospitals now. I
me.
just went, yes, because when I worked in the system years ago, they more, that's woo-woo kind of stuff. We don't do that woo-woo kind of stuff. So it tells me that they're getting results, definable results through research. Because
And
they're
coming back to
space.
Yeah, and coming back to sound, I've even seen in hospital elevators, again, in their wellness classes, offering sound baths and drumming circles. And right there in the hospital, it is so exciting and
And they're
encouraging.
doing Reiki now, and nurses are, well, not just doing healing touch.
Yes.
Nurses have been able to do healing touch, but there are Reiki practitioners in the operating rooms sometimes. Like,
Wow. Yeah, it's
they're shifting and
awesome.
changing.
Yeah, and Linda's commenting on how wonderful it is to hear about this stuff happening in hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is wonderful. We are in a changing world for sure. Consciousness is raising. The stuff that used to be considered super woo is becoming more and more mainstream all the time. And I think everyone is going to benefit from that. It's, yeah. As you say, we create our world with our thinking. So the people who poo poo, oh, well, you're just saying you're recalibrating so that you don't feel so bad about having a cold. Well, what's wrong with not feeling so bad about having a cold? I mean, that's a good thing all the way around. I just don't get. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that's been helpful for me in my healing journey, I don't know why this wants to be said now, but having the ability to be curious about the past, that from the now we access the past. If I keep having something that comes over and over and over again, a worry, a hurt, a grief, I'm going to start coughing again. Excuse me.
Okay. Well, and Lena has just pointed out that many massage therapy schools are including Reiki in their programs now. So, again, another sign that there is some harmonizing of complementary methods. Linda, her youngest sister makes chemo and has wanted nothing to do with anything to do with alternative, and they've not talked in a while. That's sad. And you know what? One way of approaching that, Linda, is not to reference this work as alternative, because it's not necessarily alternative implies either or. And I think where we want to come to is a place of complementary practices. I saw a brilliant documentary that interviewed a lot of really amazingly famous people and people who have completely recovered from cancer and all sorts of other amazing situations. And what they have said is that, for example, you can look at chemo as your friend, as this liquid, and be welcoming and absorbing it, and using complementary practices to assist in that. So rather than calling these things alternative methods, if we shift our languaging to complementary, it opens the door. More people are open to considering that. So I just offer that for you, Linda, as a possibility to take to your sister.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's a place for being curious about the past, bringing resolution to the past. The unresolved issues from the past can affect our physical body. Now we know that all sorts of traumas can lead to things like cancer, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
and all sorts of illnesses. Then there's a place to be curious about the future, pondering about the future, living into plans for the future, and then cultivating ways to be more comfortable in the
Mm-hmm.
present. And as creatures who have an awareness of past and future, I'm not about saying, oh, yeah, living in the now, living in the now, living in the now, living into now. Well, living into now actually includes having an awareness of our past and future, because I can tell you, working with Alzheimer's clients who don't create for the future and eventually they don't even remember the past.
Right.
It's really important for us to have access to the past. I don't want to be a prisoner of the past. I want my past to wisen me. I don't want to be having all of my, I've got to wait until this is happening in the future so I can feel happy and feel, more confident or more joy. I want to be able to dream about the future, but not have my happiness put on hold.
Yeah.
But it's wonderful to have a sense of linearity and to be able to turn from the point of now and choicefully, consciously choose where we're going to spend have our attention.
Conscious choice. Yeah, conscious choice, always, right, in every moment. That makes the difference in our lives. Before we get too far along, my gosh, like we're already at 26 and a half minutes into our half hour. The best way for people to connect with you is through your Facebook page. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's facebook.com/Alara Payten.
Okay.
That's the easiest way.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Or they can connect with me at Alara Payten 55@gmail.com.
Okay.
Alara Payten 55@gmail.com.
Okay, we'll just put that on the screen there too. There we go. All right, good. Okay, in case Linda resonates and would like to connect with you, then she has a way to do that. She says that she is a 6-year breast cancer warrior, and she saw a video of a man with dementia who was non-responsive, and he lit up and sang when hearing old music. Yes, it's true. Again, the power of sound, the power of music to influence.
And accessing, for the Alzheimer's clients, music that was meaningful to them in their youth.
Yeah.
And so we know listening to music that was meaningful to us in our youth can be uplifting to us.
Yeah.
Or it can assist with healing, because maybe it takes us to a place of crying where we go, oh, this song, it always opens up my ability to just be with my crying, to be with, that was a hard time in my life. I like this song because it just lets me process. Music can be an easeful way to process unresolved grief, etc. Right?
Absolutely. And sometimes it's just a release of an unnamed thing. This morning is a very good example. I had some Adele music on and I was simply moving, and in the middle of one of these songs, I just started to cry. And there wasn't a feeling that I would call sadness attached to it, but it was a release that was happening. And
our bodies are great storehouses. So who knows where it's coming from? And we know from epigenetics that we can carry the trauma of our lineage.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe something just goes, woo, I'm free. Yeah, so I don't have to analyze everything. I can just be curious. Is there something for me to be aware of and not? You just knew it was something to move. Okay. If it comes around every day for 5 days, then you might say, I think some part of me, aspect of me wants my attention. Hello. Come sit with me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But in the here and go. And isn't it beautiful to be in the place now where you said, I don't have to be in analysis paralysis. And yet that was a good chunk of your life, was being in that place. And how wonderful to be free of that. So what would you say was the biggest contributor for you to be able to move past that and be in this?
Oh my goodness, the biggest contributor?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't say there's a biggest contributor. There have been so many ways that I've used healing modalities and access teachers. I've done traditional psychotherapy, but I have found more of the spiritual psychotherapy. I've done ayahuasca. Plant medicine was very key for me in Peru to use the medicine to kind of crack open. It really cracked open deeply rooted fears that were strangulating me. And on the other side of those ceremonies, yeah, I guess I had 8 ceremonies, 1 in Hawaii and 7 in Peru. That medicine was very key. I always would recommend doing it in a sacred ceremony container. These are powerful medicines. They are not to be used recreationally.
No.
They can cause psychoses and all sorts of challenges when we aren't supported in debriefing what we find in that influence of the medicine. And to be supported by the people that I was working with were psychologists, so they were able to debrief. That was incredibly powerful for me.
And there it is again, right? Ceremony, ritual, support, all of these things that make a huge, oh, and look at that. There is your niece sending a gazillion little hearts. Good morning, Christina.
I love you.
Oh goodness, here we are, overtime already. So thank you so much. Thank you for agreeing to be here despite the recalibration.
Apologize for the coughing sound effects.
It's okay. It lets people know that we're all human and we go through these things and we can handle them with ease and grace, or we can fight and resist, which just drags it out forever. So you've been a beautiful example. And Christina sends back, and I love you too. And we thank you again so much for sharing your wisdom and your beautiful energy with us this morning. And to all of our viewers, thank you for tuning in. And my traveling eyes have been, of course, checking out the messages that have been coming in. We'll be taking a little 2-week break over the Christmas holiday season, back on the first Wednesday in January with my guest. I think it's Pat Duckworth, all the way live from the UK. Pat's done a lot of work with menopause and has been on an interesting spiritual journey as well. And we'll be delighted to share a conversation with her. In the meantime, we wish you a beautiful, beautiful holiday season. And we thank you for tuning in. Previous recordings of this can be found on our blog at bestyoucanbe.ca. Including this recording will be uploaded in just a few hours. So if you want to watch it again, we'll be there. In the meantime, ciao for now.